And welcome to DIY STEM with Miss Sandra. I hope you all are staying safe. Today's experiment is going to require us to act as engineers. Okay, so we will be building boats out of aluminum foil. And the point of this challenge is to see how many pennies we can float before it sinks. Okay, so as usual, I'm gonna go through materials to see if you have it at home in order to perform the experiment. All right, so we have our water in our bowl, and I use a clear bowl because I like to see what I'm doing. We have our scissors, our pennies, and I have approximately 60 pennies. We have our aluminum foil, and we have our paper towel in case we make a mess, and also to dry off the pennies before we start our second experiment. All right, so we're gonna get started. So we're gonna take the aluminum foil, and I don't have a ruler or anything of that sort, so we're just gonna measure with, I'm gonna measure with my hand. All right. Okay, so this is our aluminum foil. And before we get started, you don't have to have the exact same materials or the same brands that I do have. As long as you have an aluminum foil, it doesn't matter. And I personally, like I stated earlier, like to use clear containers so I can see for myself. So we have our aluminum foil, and I'm going to measure with my hand like so. So as you can see, we're gonna do this so I know to cut it from up top where my middle finger stops. And then we're gonna go across, and I know to stop here. So I'm gonna make a little dent to measure on both sides. Okay. And this is when we use our scissors to cut. Okay, so we have our piece of aluminum, and I like to make the ends even so that everything goes smoothly. Okay, so measuring it again, and it's exactly as I measured it. Feel free to use a ruler if you would like, but I just wanted to, you know, kind of free fall it. So I'm going to fold it at the top like so. And this is the first design, so we don't have to make it super perfect, but the first experiment is to observe and see what can be changed about it so that we can retest it. And then I'm gonna fold the other side. And I'm gonna fold the top part. And the other side of the top part. Okay, so this is my first boat. And, okay, so I'm gonna drop it in the water. And it's floating perfectly. So before I do this, I am going to predict how much I feel would fit before it sinks. And I think 10 would work, but let's see. And if we go over 10, we'll just keep going. Okay, so I am actually going to spread it around so that it's not on one side. I don't want it to tip over. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, and it floated. It sunk. All right, so at 6 is when my boat sunk. With that being said, we're gonna get started with the second part of the experiment, which is to redesign it and retest it. So I'm going to draw these. We're gonna go ahead and get rid of this one because there's water all over it, and drying it won't really help when we put it back in the water. So I'm gonna get rid of this, and we're going to dry off the pennies so we can use it for the rest of the experiment. All right. And you have to make sure that it's dry because it fell in water, and water is going to carry some type of weight, which would mess up the second experiment. So you want it to be as dry as possible. Okay. So, just like we did for the first one, and we could reuse this one because this is still a fresh one. It's just measured differently. So again, measure, and we're good. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut it. And this is our second boat. So with the first boat, we kind of did a raft design versus like an actual boat design. So let's see what happens with this one. Okay, so for this design, and you can do it however you would like, but I am going to do it this way. I'm gonna fold it in half. Just so it can be like a double layer in order to carry more, right? Okay. And then I'm going to fold it again, but not all the way. Then for this part of it, I'm going to fold it like this. So these two flaps are gonna come together like so, so it looks like a cone. And then I'm gonna fold it underneath like this, so it looks like that. Okay, and I'll do the same on the other side. Fold it like a cone and fold the little part that's sticking out back and under. And I have my boat. This is my boat, guys. Okay. So we're gonna set it in the water, and it's going to tip over, but once we start loading it with the pennies, it's going to stand up. So again, I'm going to predict 10 pennies, but if we get more, that's good. Okay, so we're gonna get started. So we have 1, 2, again, sort of spreading it out as much as I can. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, we're going strong. 18, 19. Oh, okay. So it sunk at 19. So with that being said, I'm going to challenge you all to try to build your own boats and try to fit more than 19 pennies in there. That's the challenge. Okay. I'm gonna let these dry. Clean up. So yes, that is the end of the experiment. Again, challenging you all to do more than 19 pennies. So feel free to try it out and let us know what happens with your pennies. All right. And as always, we always talk about the science behind the experiment. Okay? So, as far as the science behind the experiment, there were two primary forces that was acting on the experiment. The first one is gravity. The force of gravity was basically, and let me have this as an example for you all. The force of gravity was basically pulling the foil and pennies down, right? So I'll do 4 pennies. I have 4 pennies. The force of gravity is going to pull this downwards. So when I put this on there and I hold it, you see that bend? That's the force of gravity pulling it downwards. The second force is the force of buoyancy. Now with the force of buoyancy, it basically pushes the boat upward. Okay? So gravity down, buoyancy up. Just think of it that way. Okay? And usually gravity is determined by the weight of the tin foil and the weight of the pennies on it. That's what's defining the gravity at this point. Now the second thing is with buoyancy, it's the weight of the water. Okay? The water is what is pushing it up. So if it's less water, then there won't be enough buoyancy to keep the boat afloat. Okay? So the boat will continue to float as long as the force of gravity is, as long as the force of buoyancy is greater than the force of gravity. Because remember, buoyancy is going up and gravity is going down. So gravity is what actually makes the boat sink. Okay? So that is the end of our experiment today. If you guys have any other wonderful ideas or any questions, or if you want to report your challenge, please email me at sansong@bgcc.org. Again, sansong@bgc.org. Thank you for joining me today, and continue to take safety precautions at home by washing your hands and staying at home. Enjoy the rest of your week.